Hey, I'm Tanya. I work for Montclair State University. I'm an environmental educator. This is Bella. And the days are getting longer and the temperature's increasing. And so we're going to go on a little walk today to look for some common signs of spring. Things that you might find in your backyard or even in the woodlands close to your house. So let's go. One of the earliest plant families that comes up in the spring is the onion family. And everybody's probably familiar with this plant. It's often the bane of your lawn landscape. But we shouldn't think of it as a weed, right? A weed is really just a plant that grows in a place where people don't want it to grow. But this plant is native to somewhere. And if we kind of rethink the way we look at this plant, we can see a huge amount of value in it as a food plant. And so we can dig it up. We just get low, kind of underneath the bulbs, and there's a whole cluster of these in here. And if we separate them and pull them apart, wipe the dirt off, you can see they look just like a chive that you would buy at the grocery store, and they taste equally as delicious. And so if you go out collecting these in the spring, you can rid your lawn of weeds and feed your family at the same time. Hey, so this is Japanese barberry, and as the name suggests, this plant is not native to the United States. It was brought over as a landscape plant because it's beautiful in Japan, which is why many of our landscape plants end up here. And a lot of people buy it and plant it because deer don't eat it. It's covered with thorns, which is why I'm wearing gloves. And they just don't really like the way it tastes. One of the other beautiful things about this plant is the berries that it holds onto over the season, but that's how this plant spreads. So birds will eat the berries and poop them out all over the place, and then it takes over in the forest. But it greens up early. So if you look out onto a forested landscape, oftentimes you'll see a cloud of green in the understory of the forest, and unfortunately most of that is Japanese barberry. But one cool thing about it is, if you dig it up, which I'm gonna try to get this one out of the ground, if you dig it up, the roots are this brilliant yellow color, and you can boil them and turn the roots into a dye. And we've actually used the dye to dye Easter eggs. So here's a great example of what this yellow inside of the stem and the roots look like on this plant. Japanese barberry. Go home and dig it out. If you're looking for a blast of color on the spring landscape, the red maple is an awesome plant to seek out. So this is one of our most common trees in North America, and it's one of the first ones to flower. So these beautiful, brilliant red flowers are a really important early food source for our native pollinators like bees. And if you get to it before it flowers, you can even make maple syrup. So this little cutie that looks like a dandelion, but it's not, is called coltsfoot. And this spring bloom gets sent up before the leaves of the plant actually come up. So this one is native to Europe and Asia, and it's a powerful medicinal plant here in the United States for people who are into herbal medicine. The scientific name is Tussilago farfara. Tussis means cough in Latin. And so the part of the body that this one's good for, the lungs. So you can dry the leaves and make a tea and help with lung health. So this is the flower of skunk cabbage, and it's one of the earliest spring wetland plants to come up in the swamp. And it's cool because it has kind of an antifreeze in it that can push through the ice and melt through the ice to get the flower up above the surface. And these are the leaves. They're pretty small right now. They'll get really big, but they're a really important wildlife food source. Bears actually eat those as soon as they come out of their hibernation, and it acts as a laxative to help the bears poop. Is that a bear? Nope, it's Bella. So if we go out looking for spring greens for our dinner table, this plant is like hitting the jackpot. So this is a ramp. It's a native plant to North America, and it's in the onion family. So it's another plant that comes up really early in the spring. The whole plant is edible, and they are absolutely delicious. And one of the problems with that is that they're highly sought after, and oftentimes people will go out and over-harvest ramps. So we want to keep sustainability in mind and not to harvest anything from a patch that has less than 100 plants in it. This patch is only like 75 plants, so I'm not going to harvest enough for dinner, but I do want to pull one up to show you what it looks like. So it looks pretty similar to that spring onion in that it grows from a bulb, And it's got that nice fleshy white bulb at the bottom and green leaves at the top, and the whole plant is edible from the roots all the way up to the leaves. So this is our eastern bluebird box, and we were super excited because this morning we saw a pair of bluebirds checking it out. We've put this artificial box up to help bluebirds because bluebirds were in decline. There's an invasive bird called a house sparrow that nests in the same type of nest cavities that bluebirds nest in, and they're way more aggressive. And a cavity is just a hole, like a cavity is a hole in your tooth. A hole in the tree is also called a cavity, and that's the prime nesting site for bluebirds. So we've created this box that looks a lot like a natural tree cavity, and the bluebirds love it. So this is common mullein. It's an invasive plant that grows in lots of people's yards, and it's growing now. It's definitely a sign of spring, but the reason I wanted to show it to you is because of this toilet paper shortage that we've been having recently. So the other name for this is cowboy toilet paper, and they say it's as soft as a cloud plucked from the sky when you need to wipe your fanny. It's been great being out with you, exploring the swamps and the forests and our backyard. And we found lots of different signs of spring today, but there are so many that we didn't look for. So no matter where you live, if it's in the country or the city, there are signs everywhere. And we challenge you to get out there and explore. Nature's great for your mind and your body and your soul, and we want to see you out there finding all kinds of fun things.